What's up everybody, it's Sean here, back today to give you a review of the Kith New Balance 860 V2 in this Espresso colorway. This latest collaboration between Kith and New Balance kind of just dropped out of nowhere. At least I didn't see a significant build up leading up to this release, which dropped on October 13th. They retailed for a price of $150 US or $200 here in Canada, and the style code for this shoe is ML860KT2. When it comes to brown sneakers, I don't own too many shoes that are predominantly brown, but I think the autumn months that we're in right now, they for sure are the best time of the year to rock them. So this came out at the perfect time, and like any other 860 V2, this pair is made in Asia. So as far as the packaging goes, so this comes in a custom box just for this release. So you can see it's done in this brown colored finish. We have New Balance and Kith co-branding found on all sides. So it's a very sleek looking box which matches the colors of the shoe perfectly. So taking a look at the details of the shoe, the entire upper of the shoe is crafted out of a mix of pig nubuck and suede. So according to the Kith description, the base layers or underlays are crafted out of suede. So I'm going to assume the base layer of the shoe, this is a very soft brown colored suede. Overlaid on top of this, I'm going to assume that this is the pig nubuck, and while they keep the shoe simplistic, they still retain the classic look of the 860 V2, with these patterns debossed out of the suede, mimicking the look of a normal 860 V2. So you can see covering the eyelets, we have these same deep brown colored overlays, and then stitched on top of the sides of the shoe, we have the New Balance N logo. This is done in a mix of dark brown and this bronze or golden color. Moving downwards, you can see we have 860 V2 branding found on the lateral heel. We have these textured suede layers on the bottom, along with the New Balance logo debossed on the center of the heel. In terms of laces, so this pair comes with two different lace options. The standard lace that they come with is a oval shaped lace which is very stretchy, and this is done in a very dark brown color. They also come with a secondary oval lace which is done in more of a lighter brown shade if you want to give the shoe a little bit more pop and a little bit more of an obvious hit of brown. Underneath this, the tongue is crafted out of a mix of nubuck and suede. And then on the top of the tongue, we have New Balance branding on the left foot and the Kith word mark debossed across the right foot. The back of the tongue and the interior collar of the shoe, this is covered in a brown colored mesh. And then for the insoles, these come with their typical foam lined insole, and we have New Balance and Kith co-branding pressed onto the heel. So the upper of the New Balance 860 V2, it sits atop a very familiar midsole which we've seen later adopted on models like the 2002R and 1906R. So in this case, this is crafted out of a mix of Activa, which is basically like an EVA foam, along with Absorb. And as usual, we have New Balance's energy technology. These are these segmented units on the heel which help with impact protection and shock absorption. And then for the bottom of the shoe, we have a tonal rubber outsole. We have this diamond-shaped traction pattern along with these grooves to give you some added flexibility. In the middle, we have New Balance's stability web technology. This essentially is like a plastic or TPU shank plate, which helps with torsional rigidity and midfoot support. So that breaks down the look and the construction of this pair. And for those wondering about how these fit, to me, I went with my normal 860 V2 size and it fit me perfectly fine. So I'm a true size 10, slightly on the wider side, meaning when I step on a Brannick device, I'm actually a US men's 10 in between a D and an E width. So getting these in a size 10, they fit me very comfortably in a slightly snug way. So I feel like if you have a narrow, normal, or even a slightly wide foot, you can go with your normal true size, but if you have like a really wide foot, you might want to consider going up a half size. To give you guys a point of comparison, I also go true to size or a size 10 in other New Balance silhouettes like the 2002R, 1906R, a lot of the made in UK models like the 1500 and 991, whereas I go a half size down to a 9.5 in a lot of the made in USA models like the 992, 993, and most of the 990 series. Moving on to the comfort, so these feel like any other 860 V2, so I find them to be quite comfortable. They feel pretty similar to like a 2002R or a 1906R, so if you've tried those models before, that underfoot feeling is pretty much going to feel identical, except for maybe the fact that the upper is a little bit more narrow. The fact that they utilized suede and nubuck instead of mesh, that was an interesting choice. I didn't really feel that it took away too much from the comfort. Obviously it's going to be less breathable, but I'm wearing these in the fall anyways, so breathability really isn't at the top of my list when it comes to a fall sneaker. But I can really see this being like a shoe that I wear to work, for example, or even if I'm dressing up a little bit and I want a shoe that looks a little bit more sophisticated, I think the comfort definitely will still be there. Finally, in terms of the quality and the craftsmanship, so first off, material quality I thought was a big upgrade over a typical 860 V2. When you look at a typical colorway, they usually utilize a mix of meshes and synthetic layers, reflective panels, but this shoe completely removes all that and it just gives you good quality suede and nubuck. It's not going to be the best cut of material I've seen, but for a made in Asia 860 V2, I thought it was a big upgrade over a typical version. The build quality of the shoe I thought was fine. It was free of major stitch issues, glue stains were kept at a minimum, and the panels were relatively consistent between my left and right feet. So all in all, I think they were really going for more of a luxurious feel for this shoe, and I think they really accomplished that with this colorway. So with all of that out of the way now, let's toss these on feet, I'll lace them up, and I'll show you guys how these look. All in all, like I mentioned earlier, this is a very classy, sophisticated, and luxurious version of the 860 V2. The colorway, it is what it is. If you find it boring, that's perfectly fine, but I think they were really going for quality of the materials and more of an understated look, letting the materials be the star of the show. And again, I think the colorway can be worn a lot during fall and even with work or office fits. So I know there's a whole term of dad shoes. I think this is an example of maybe like a grandpa shoe. But I totally mean that in the best of ways. So leave your thoughts down below, let me know what do you guys think about this Espresso colorway of the Kith and New Balance 860 V2. What are your overall thoughts on this shoe? Do you think it's a bit understated, a little bit boring? Or did you pick these up and you're a fan of them? Either way, leave your thoughts down below and let's talk about it. And as usual, if you guys enjoyed this review, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. You can follow me on my social media accounts, which I'll link down below in the description box. And as always, thank you for your continued love and support, and I'll catch all of you in my next video.